Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's top 10 is going to be all about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I'm going to be ranking my favorite MCU films. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on my other social media platforms, Instagram and YouTube at tbear02. And just a heads up, there are some spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen the movies yet, make sure you watch those. But if you don't mind, keep watching. Number 10, Avengers Infinity War. I like that all the MCU characters are finally together in one movie. We all know that they exist in the same universe, and we've seen this many of them together in big and small ways. Like obviously the first Avengers movie had the main Avengers cast, or the original cast, together. But as the universe has grown, we've seen different characters kind of play big and small roles throughout other folks' movies, like Tony being in Spider-Man, or Claw's role in Black Panther. And all the clues that have been sprinkled throughout the universe, really leading us to our heroes all being in this one movie together, was kind of dope. The reason why it's number 10 on my list is because it was kind of an exciting, like, culminating event, although, like I said, spoiler alert, this was totally a setup movie that really didn't give me much in terms of the happy ending we're used to for the MCU movies. And it was a bit too long for my liking, given that it was a setup movie, but overall it was a solid setup for what's coming next. Number 9, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, the Guardians kind of feel far removed from the rest of the MCU heroes, and they've kind of managed to dig themselves into their own little niche inside this MCU world. And similarly to their first film, the jokes come first, and this time they really allowed Drax to share all that he was thinking, which was usually something funny. And having Kurt Russell play the father, planet, and villain all in one was kind of a fun twist that only MCU could provide. And Baby Groot, hello, so cute. Number 8, Spider-Man Homecoming. To me, this movie was really well done. This was the first time that we got to see Spider-Man like in the way that he'd be in real life, an awkward, uncoordinated teenager who was really just trying to survive high school. I appreciated the diversity in the cast. Shout out to the Bay Area native, Zendaya. The only thing that I needed more from this movie was in the development of the villain. I felt like his mission was really just being mad at Iron Man and trying to figure out how to like make Iron Man feel bad, which isn't a terrible mission, but like not the best that we've seen so far from our villains for sure. Number 7, Thor Ragnarok. Now, we got to see the lighter side of Thor in this movie, and he's normally pretty stiff compared to the other Avengers. But it was cool to hear him crack jokes and smile a bit more, because normally he's kind of like, I am Thor, not I am Groot, but I am Thor, and is really just a meathead with not much going on. So it was cool to see him think a little more and provide us with a little humor. We also got to see the Hulk a bit better. We like know who Bruce is, but we don't really know who the Hulk is. And so it was cool to see the Hulk as the Hulk the entire movie. And the action was pretty solid, so the film was overall a good time. Number 6, Guardians of the Galaxy. As I said before, the Guardians kind of occupy their own unique space in the MCU, and this movie was a bit of a risk given that all the other films were kind of more serious and their characters we were more familiar with, but it worked. So it was awesome to see kind of Chris Pratt be able to carry a film like this in a role he hadn't done before. And again, how could you not love Groot? Number 5, Doctor Strange. This movie had like all the special effects. It was like comic books meet Inception, moving through the astral plane. Like it was all super dope. Watching the world kind of shift around him as he performed his spells was really cool. I also got to see this movie in 3D, which I think brought it to the next level. And it was visually probably my favorite film from the bunch. I ranked this movie pretty high because of the visuals, and per usual, it had the jokes, which we are accustomed to seeing in these films. I will say Doctor Strange probably wasn't your typical superhero, just given kind of the action and fighting that we see in the other films. But it was high on my list, like I said, because the visuals were stunning. Number 4, Iron Man. I couldn't have a list that didn't include Iron Man. The first one, of course. This was like the comeback of superhero movies. Yes, Marvel had X-Men going on during the time that this movie was released, but let's be real, Wolverine kind of had to carry those movies, and although he is a dope hero, he didn't compare to the jokes and the intellect that we got from Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Iron Man, who has essentially led us through this entire MCU adventure. I honestly didn't care much for Iron Man in the comic books until I saw him brought to life. And an obvious added bonus, we got to see Downey make an historic comeback, shifting the attention from his kind of darker personal life and off screen, and coming back to the big screen in such a major way. And like, they probably couldn't have predicted it'd blow up like this, but like, dope. Number 3 on the list has got to be Black Panther. As a Black woman who loves all things superheroes, it was great to see characters that I could deeply relate to. I mean, strong Black women protecting their people. What more could I want? The storyline was unique and added some color to a pretty uniform hero look that the films before it had. And not only was it directed by a Bay Area native, shout out to Ryan, it also had scenes set right in my own backyard in Oakland. So it was pretty relatable and really just like dope, to say the least. I know that's my favorite word right now, but that's how I would describe this movie. And really, the one thing that I needed more of was action. I mean, yes, there were some unique shots like the fight scene in the casino, but I really wanted to see more hand-hand, like number 1 and number 2 on my list. Number 2, Captain America Winter Soldier. So disclaimer, I actually watched this movie a little late and like far out of order. I had seen a few other movies that came after it before I got to see it. I actually wasn't the biggest fan of Captain America, the first movie, and somehow managed to miss this one until fairly recently. And because of the way the movies were set up, I didn't really miss much in missing this movie. But anyway, in this movie, you got to see the Cap that you like wish you had seen in his first movie. He had kind of reached his peak badassness, and that was clear by all the action scenes and all his fight scenes with Winter Soldier. Lots of hand-to-hand combat, basically what you wanted from a superhero movie. What you got to see in the comic books kind of came to life in this movie, which was cool. And Chris Evans looked real fine, not gonna lie. So my number 1 and number 2 are pretty closely related, and my boyfriend and I actually argue over which one's the best one. But number 1 on my list is Captain America Civil War. I only have good things to say about this movie. I loved the different leadership styles between Stark and Cap, and they, you know, finally come to a head. But this time the guys are on kind of the opposite side of what you would assume they would land on, because they never really agree on the right way to do things, with Cap normally being about the country and Stark usually being about the individual. To watch them kind of be flopped in their viewpoints was interesting. This movie also brought us some tier 2 Avengers who we got to see in other films throughout the universe. And of course, I love that we got to see a sneak peek of Black Panther, kind of leaving you wanting more and marking your calendars for his first solo film. I also appreciated that the villain in this movie was one that you could understand, given how much destruction had come from the Avengers kind of forming. Even though they were working to save the world, they left so much tragedy behind them, and I think that's something that's missing from a lot of superhero movies, and even in the comics. You don't really get to see the aftermath outside of the core group of characters. So it was interesting to have somebody from the outside come in and really feel strongly about stopping the Avengers to save the world in a different way. Alright guys, so that was my top 10 MCU movies. These are just my opinions. I'd love to hear how you guys would rank these films. I know there are lots that were left off the list because there were only 10, but I'm kind of a nerd, so I'd love to hear your guys' top 10. So please feel free to write a list or send me a link below to your top 10 MCU movies. And as always, it's been my pleasure. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on my other social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter, at tbear02. And until next time, see you later.